Hello, everyone. Welcome to another one-on-one on Talking Feds. Things are moving very quickly. It's barely 24 hours since President Biden made his bombshell announcement. We need desperately now the top-notch analysts who know policy and politics, history, and what the next week holds, who have political insight and expertise combined with understanding of the stakes and a dedication to democracy. And if you don't already know it, let me tell you, I've just described the Rick Wilson, who is unbelievably in demand in the wake of this announcement for his combination of really fine-grained political knowledge and broader vision and understanding of what's around. He's agreed to be with us for a few minutes. Rick Wilson, thank you so much.
Harry, how are you, my friend?
Not too bad, all things considered. I feel a little buoyed since yesterday. I noticed I've got a little spring in my step. Yourself?
As you should, my friend. I am. Yeah. I feel the same way. We've had a moment where the complete sunk cost fallacy of the Trump world. They've decided they're going to keep waging a war on Joe Biden. It's not going to work. They thought Biden would never leave the race. He did. The entire thing has turned into a very ugly moment for the Trump campaign and the Trump supporters because, Kamala Harris is now the de facto Democratic nominee. She will be bringing a lot different tone and character to the race. She is much younger than Donald Trump. He is now the oldest man in the race, although as our friend
the oldest man in history, if he were to win.
Indeed. And although, as our friend George Conway pointed out, and I do think we should respect Donald Trump in this regard, he is also the youngest felon to have ever.
It's an excellent point. Aaron Burr never quite got to run. It's true. Yeah. All right, so much just in those two sentences. Let's start with Kamala Harris. Everybody check out Rick's Substack, which sort of encapsulates his views. But again, they are changing. Events on the ground are changing by the half hour. But you were confident, Rick, that Kamala Harris was the best option for victory, and you felt that coming out of the box. And it looks like she is the option. Can you explain?
Look, three things. First off, the logistical elements of running for president, of any other candidate would have to form a new committee, raise new money, build out a new staff, do all the new legalities of running for president. That was not necessary for Vice President Harris. She was able to jump right into this thing yesterday. And what happened? You saw, for once, our friends in the Democratic Party, who often flail and
lack organizational skills.
Yeah, I was trying to say it more subtly than that. Find themselves less than fully organized, except when they're forming a circular firing squad. And what happened instead was they got their act together. Endorsements started to roll in almost instantaneously. Almost every
had they been organized in advance based on your knowledge?
No, they had not, based on my knowledge. And to her great credit, the vice president, from what everything that I can understand from folks in Biden world, in her world, in the White House more broadly, she had, for the entire duration of this, if she was thinking about it, she didn't say a word to anybody. She kept it was strictly loyal to the president until such time as he made his decision. And once he made his decision, she moved quickly. And he endorsed her right off the bat. And listen, I think Joe Biden also, he gets less credit than he ought to get, Harry, for being a sort of clever political operator. And he understood a couple of things. One, this was going to step on Donald Trump's great moment of triumph after the Republican convention in that weird speech. Two, it was going to cut off further bleeding and damage to the Democratic Party at a time when it needed to cut off the damage. Three, it ended up giving her a sort of glow about her as someone who would drive Trump crazy. And I think Biden knew that. I think everyone sort of understood that there was going to be a moment where in this race, you wanted somebody who was going to be Trump's kryptonite.
Right.
And to a great degree, Joe Biden was not that. Even in 2020, he really wasn't that. We saw those articles last week with Tim Alberta interviewing Trump strategist and campaign manager Susie Wiles and Chris LaCivita, and they were taking a victory lap here. They were picking out curtains in the White House. They were ready to, one of them, they were going to flip a coin. One was going to be chief of staff. One was going to be the ambassador to Italy or whatever it was, right? Triumphalism and arrogance is an absolute deadly political curse. And if you indulge in it, you're going to get the karmic boot up the ass. And they did. They planned an entire campaign around running against age and infirmity. They now have a woman who is all the things Donald Trump hates. She is a woman. She is of color. She is a prosecutor. She laughs at his face. And none of those things
that's not to be discounted. That's a big one.
No.
Well, I understand she's got a certain vitality, a certain charisma. She's really got poise. Let me follow up, though, because what we heard about her as of 2 weeks ago is she's been an unpopular vice president to the extent anybody's been paying any attention whatsoever. Mm-hmm. Her numbers were even lower than those of Biden. We know that when the selection process took place in 2020, she had a lot of naysayers. What was that about, and does any of it matter now? Does she get a total clean reset, or does she have to climb out of a hole?
No, she starts fresh. I suspect what we're going to see in the first round of polling that's going to come out tomorrow and the next day, full sets of polling, like not just a flash poll overnight. I think we're going to see her up on Trump by a couple of points. I think we're going to see the Democratic Party has reunified around her. They were desperately terrified of what was happening. They didn't know how to handle it. They couldn't decide between loyalty to a man that they have known and loved for 45 years and the obvious problems that were going on in his life with his health and his campaign and the pressure campaign brought against him. No one knew how to handle it appropriately. That is now in the past. That is now gone. We now have a unified Democratic Party. I think you're going to see that. I think you're going to see a big bump with African-American numbers, Southeast Asian and Indian American numbers. I think you're going to see a big bump with mainstream Democratic voters. This is a solution to a problem they didn't understand how to solve. It has given them a sense of confidence and comfort that I have not seen in the last couple of years among rank and file Democrats.
And for sure not the last couple of weeks when everybody was really
absolutely
pooping their pants. Well, let me follow up, though, because what you suggested, I think there's been this relentless focus on the 15 voters, the suburban moms in 6 different states, whatever. What you're suggesting, I think, tell me if I'm right, is that that strategy becomes maybe secondary, not that they're going to give up on it, but this becomes more now of a turnout election, wanting to have traditional constituencies and especially African Americans, right. Rather than the 15 votes there, you get the 30 votes here, or 15,000, 30,000. It's a different kind of dynamic. Is that how you see it?
That's a big part of it. There's also the ability of the first Gen X candidate to get out there and really, and look, the old cliche about younger voters is that they're not voters. And that has been true for many, many decades, is that people, Rock the Vote has been around for 40 years and it still hasn't quite gotten the vote rocked.
Right.
God love them. They do great work. Okay, I have no
little dorky still, right?
But it's a little difficult to get younger voters turned up. And look, she has a much better tie into the popular culture.
Yeah.
I mean, look, I'm going to take
She's kind of hip. Right?
Yeah, she is kind of cool. I'm going to take, at the minimum, she's cool mom cool. I'm going to take Taylor Swift and Beyonce and Charlie XCX and other folks over Lee Greenwood, Kid Rock, and a bunch of washed up wrestlers any day of the week.
Hulk Hogan, yeah,
right?
Exactly.
I mean,
broad appeal.
I'm just not gonna. I'm not gonna say that we might not have a level of turnout with young voters that is unprecedented, and I think that would really It doesn't take a lot. You turn up young voters by 2% and she's going to win 320 electoral college votes. This is not
That's the thing.
The race
We
it
are
was
back
last
now.
week. Yes.
We are back now, it seems to me, to June 26th when we were on a razor's edge. And so now where we get a little ahead, but this is why I love talking to you, because you run the full gamut from, stakes for democracy to Fifth District in Wisconsin. Right. But you said she should not make the mistake of trying to run a policy campaign. And, she's to the extent she's revived her fortunes of late, it has been on especially abortion. Tell us what you mean by that and how you would advise her in terms of campaign tactics.
I think the most important thing here, and when I say policy campaign, I mean the kind of campaign where she says things like, refer to my 687-page plan on climate or healthcare or whatever. This race is a referendum about Donald Trump, top to bottom, stem to stern. This is a race about...
Now, again, it is.
Yes, that's
the whole big debate, right?
It was about Joe Biden, and now it is entirely about Donald Trump. Entirely, utterly about Donald Trump on every single dimension. And she has a chance to go out and make this about a compelling vision of America that is compassionate, that is smart, that is kind, that is effective, that is strong. She has the opportunity to seize what I always call the strong side of the argument on a bunch of different areas, including on questions of, the women's reproductive health. That is something that she doesn't have to make this a fight about abortion qua abortion. She can make this a fight about the fact that Donald Trump is the guy who brags about ending Roe and Dobbs. That issue is beyond policy now with women voters in this country. It is the hottest of hot buttons. It never goes away. But she doesn't have to come out here and feel like she needs to produce her version of Project 2025. There's no need for it, and there's no upside to doing it. This is going to be a race that comes down to about, do you want 4 more years of Donald Trump or not? And she is the solution to that. And I do think on an image and framing perspective, the thing that will make Trump truly deranged is that she needs to bring up over and over again, Donald, I was a prosecutor. I handled men like you all the time. Frauds, criminals, liars, thieves. I understand what you are. I will have no mercy upon you in this campaign. And she needs, I think, to harness the fact that the novel nature of this moment that we're in is because of him, not her.
Yeah. I mean, it was circulating yesterday, a fantastic commercial from 2020 that I hadn't seen where I put away sexual predators. He is a sexual predator, that, and you can't imagine I'm not sure what he really has to work with against her. Now, you've said that in the next few weeks will bring every manner of attack on personal life, political character, every nasty thing, and that seems to be, it feels as if from what you're saying, and just at best I can tell, they've been kind of caught flat-footed. They were doing a little bit of op research, but like what, and they got to come after with it, but they don't even sort of have tested kinds of themes. Do you have any sense other than negative that about what we're going to be hearing from them?
Well, one thing we're going to hear from them, and this is like in the category of they didn't have a plan B, is that they've kept up attacking Biden, and their whole conspiracy machine is in overdrive. Like, is Biden even alive? Who signed the tweet? Who approved the? It's all garbage, and the reason they're doing it is, again, Harry, they don't have a plan B. They did not have an alternative scenario in their heads, and that lack of an alternative scenario, A, is malpractice, and B, shows you that they really believe they had bought into their own BS. They thought they were going to win this thing with gigantic numbers. That's why they picked J.D. Vance, because he was a safe bet. They thought they were way ahead. They thought the combination of the assassination attempt against Trump, which I increasingly like to refer to as the murder attempt, because the kid was not a politically motivated individual.
Totally. He's from Pittsburgh. That's my old office. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's a genuine lone wolf. But anyway,
yeah, he's a lost boy, as I call him. He's just, but that had faded. They thought they were going to win this thing going away. You saw Chris and Susie and the rest of the Trump team out there absolutely arrogant in every way. So they're going to keep attacking Joe Biden. They're going to keep trying to drive their conspiracy people crazy. And they're going to go after Vice President Harris on, her personal life from before she was in office. And they're going to try to make her into a very cliched image. They're going to say, I'm just going to be blunt about it. They're going to say, oh, she used her sexuality to gain higher office and all this. And let me just say this. I hope they do, because I can think of only about 50 or 60 million American women who are going to respond to that with the answer of F you. Shut your mouth. We've suffered through this kind of bullshit before. I think it's going to blow back on them in a way that I guarantee you they're focus grouping it tonight because they hadn't done it in advance. But Trump won't be able to stop it because he hates women. He hates women. He hates lawyers. He hates her. And he won't be able to stop himself. He will always go to what he thinks is the jugular. And if she laughs it off and plays it through, I think he ends up looking like an absolute a-hole in this whole thing. This is going to be a
old a-hole.
Yeah,
and I know generally,
creepy,
yeah, that creepy's a very good, that side of him really is emphasized. And by the way, you think of vice presidential candidates as having not much to do on substance, but J.D. Vance is the guy who said he wants to stop women to see whether they're menstruating, to see if they're going to get an abortion. I mean, he's got some real.
He wants to use the government to
there.
monitor womenens' periods, folks. I mean,
yeah.
Call me crazy, but that just seems like a little bit of, doesn't seem very small government to me.
Let me ask you this,
Sure.
Rick, about the flip side. It's not the flip side, but the practical notion here. They're going to say it's all Biden, et cetera. I think Biden now has this fantastic role as a statesman who'll have Jose. I think he'll bring down the rafters in Chicago. But here's my question. As a practical matter, who is going to, you pointed out, she can switch over in finances. They have the leases.
Yep.
Who is going to run the show on the campaign? Because the Biden folks, staffing wise, we're so far ahead. Does she let that happen, or how's it work?
Here's what I think is going to happen. I think you will see some folks who are close to her. I know this. There's some folks who are close to her. I'm not going to say who yet.
Yeah.
That are going to be coming in. And that is appropriate, and that is expected, and there's no harm, no foul. And you're going to see a lot of folks who are on the campaign now stay. These are people who were there for the Biden-Harris ticket. These people are already, deeply embedded into their operations that they're doing out in the States, deeply embedded in the operations they're doing at the grassroots level. And there's no reason on her part or their part to change horses here. So I think you're going to see a pretty smooth transition. No transition in campaigns is perfect, but it'll be smooth. And everyone who works for her now, who's worked for her in the past, who worked for the president now, who works for the president in the past, you know what they all get, Harry? They all get that if we screw this up, Donald Trump wins. And politics is not always a great team sport internally. Believe me, trust me, every political organization I've ever been in has its issues. It takes a lot of work to get through them. But the threat of Trump, the moment, the pendency of a Trump victory in everybody's mind is an extremely powerful force for getting everybody in line, getting everybody to work, and getting everybody to understand that what we face right now requires nobody's ego gets in the way, nobody's desire for a big title or the right office gets in the way. We should all be doing the work at every level as hard as we can, as fast as we can, because if we don't, we might have Donald Trump as president. And I don't think anybody on either side of the Biden or the Harris campaign operations wants to see that outcome.
All right, and there's an end of sorts, but things are moving so quickly, and you look back and they've receded. Let's just I hope we'll have a chance to talk to you more over the next weeks and months.
I'd be happy to.
But let's just take, the last 3 or 4 minutes to discuss a figure who is already receding in some ways. Your thoughts about President Joe Biden, his decision here,
Sure.
his legacy. What's your thinking about him?
Yeah, Harry, look, I think Joe Biden was a good man and a good father and a good president. But this sacrifice that he's made, painfully, by the way, and a sacrifice made unwillingly, and a sacrifice made with the realization that the political tide had turned against him, but it was still a decision that was made by a man I think is frankly heroic. I think what Joe Biden did was in the greatest American tradition of George Washington in 1796 when he retired from his second term. He'd only taken the second term grudgingly because Jefferson begged him to. And Joe Biden realized that he had a moment here that if he tried to cling to power, it would likely end up with a victory from Donald Trump in the general election. And he knew in his heart, in his soul, that was a potentially fatal decision. And if he had done so, it could have ended the nation as we know it. It could have resulted in Trump winning a massive victory and Trump winning the House and Senate and being in a world where that existed was something Joe Biden would not do. And for that, he is a hero. And for that, he is an American giant in our politics because there is a gift he has given us of his sacrifice. And we have to earn it now. We have to be up for it now.
Rick Wilson, thanks so much for being with us. We'll be hoping to talk to you, but also everybody be following Rick's Substack, which lays this out and gets into the weeds in a very, very helpful way. He's weeds and sky now, and very few people do that. Hope to talk to you soon.
Thank you, Harry. I appreciate you. See you soon.
Thanks for tuning in. If you enjoyed this video and other Talking Feds content, please take a second to like and subscribe. Talk to you later.